The night before I left for prison the first time, I was living with my mother, and she said, "Prison is going to be harder for you than concentration camp was for me." And I looked at her, I said, "How could you say that? Are you crazy? You were in Auschwitz." And it was later when I was in solitary confinement that I remembered what she said, which was, I didn't know what was going on. I was a kid. You're an old woman. You're 60 years old. You've had an entire life, and you're going to remember that every day. And she was right. What I knew before prison as a feminist, as an organizer, I knew nothing.
I just did everything he wanted me to do, to not have to be murdered here in prison.
I'm a survivor of sexual abuse, was trafficked and sold into sexual slavery while in prison.
We are a group of people no one has sympathy for, because we are presumed to have done something.
Being a trans woman, I was housed in men's facilities.
The atmosphere was very corrupt, very brutal.
The first day I was there, I was approached by a guy. The next day, he told me that we are now married.
They had a guy that was a Crip that began an argument with me.
One day he came to me and he told me that it's time for me to do my wife duties. And he told me that I needed to perform oral sex on him.
The gangster disciple intervenes. And once he intervenes in the situation, then they basically tie you into their gang. I would be bought and sold between various prison gangs or anybody that basically would present the opportunity to give money.
I told him that I did not feel that I was obligated or I had to do something like this for him. And he grabbed me by my throat and threw me to the wall.
I was slapped. I was beaten.
I couldn't shower alone. I couldn't do anything without him being there.
I asked for safekeeping, and they told me that they didn't have any form of evidence to prove that, and sent me right back to the cell.
They placed me on protective custody, and when I went to the cell, he was waiting for me in the cell. And that's where I was sexually assaulted again.
Made another complaint. Went to that classification committee, which was probably my 4th time. One of them told me, he said, "Well, I think you like this shit." He said, "Well, this is how we'll remedy the problem this time. We'll just send you back over there."
They allowed cultures of torture, violence, sadism to exist in every prison, every jail, because we were nothing. One of the initiatives of Witness is the intersection of climate change with mass incarceration.
When Hurricane Harvey hit, I was on a minimum security facility right outside of Houston in Beaumont. And they didn't prepare for the storm.
If you're an insulin dependent diabetic in a prison that gets hit by a hurricane, you can't get your medication. There's no way in.
No food, no water, no electricity. The sewage had backed up real bad. The toilets, the showers, all of the pipes had was just seeping raw sewage.
We are going to have the conversation, is prison about punishment or is prison about rehabilitation? Because in America, prison is about punishment. Formerly incarcerated people by design cannot compete. We are 2 steps behind, and we'll never make those 2 steps up. I'm the executive director of Witness to Mass Incarceration. Witness is a storytelling and archival organizing project where we interview formerly incarcerated women and LGBTQ people and create a digital library for people to look at. We have no moral authority, the United States. We have no right to claim any high ground on any human rights issues as long as there are thousands of prisons with millions of people in them. Unless you are committed to a major action, then all we get are a tweak here and a tweak there. I don't want reform. I want it abolished.